Right. Good morning, everybody. Apologies for the late start. I wanted to give as many people to join as possible, or to, at least access as possible. Apologies also for my slightly disheveled or somewhat tired look. We had no electricity for half of the night, so you know what the heat gets like. What I wanted to do today with Rowan's support is talk about routine and the importance of routines, because these are things that I think are sometimes lost on us. Those things that there are a lot of things that I learned in the early stages, advice that was given to me, or stuff that I read, and I realized that a lot of the things aren't necessarily filtered down. A lot of us don't have access to speech therapists or occupational therapists for whatever reason, or developmental pediatricians for whatever reason. But these are things that I learned even before I met with any of these people. Rowan's aid, I have an advisor over the years to become a consultant in the realm of neurodivergence, because especially in the classroom, a lot of her knowledge and experience is unprecedented, and she's taught me quite a lot. So I wanted us to go into routines and why routines are important. So before I even talk about even present the routine and help us to learn how to create a routine for our child or charge, I want us to at least think of how important routines are. Now I am not necessarily a person who thrives on routine in terms of the same thing every single day, but I still do thrive on routine, in that every if it's once a week or twice a week, there's certain things that I do and I should do, or I must do. If you remember at the beginning of the coup, if you remember the beginning of COVID, everything became dismantled. Everything was topsy-turvy. And for my older son, who is neurodivergent, I actually believe that both my sons are neurodivergent, but my younger son, less so, but I still think that he's neurodivergent. But when COVID hit, my older son stuck to his routine. Okay, he had his routine for class, and he had his bedtime routine was up here, and he created a morning routine for himself. My younger son he has a routine for class, but he did not follow necessarily a morning routine. So Rowan has had a morning routine on a wall for years, and so that routine has become embedded. But for Adrian, that routine, that because he is considered neurotypical, Adrian gets up, he does what he has to do and whatever, that doesn't follow a particular schedule. Similarly for after school and for nighttime. So Adrian's day became severely disrupted. And what I saw was Adrian actually descending into depression. So routines are important for children, not just for neurodivergent children, but routines are important for children. And I'll give you I've put together I compiled a list of why routines are important. Anybody has any questions in the meantime? Or any comments? Okay, so there are 10 reasons why a daily routine is important for your child. One, it helps your child to get on schedule. The consistent routine will help your child and their body clocks. We all have a body clock, right? With many day-to-day basics such as ability to take naps and sleep well at night, ability to eat healthy full meals, regular bowel movements. That's not something that you think that is on a routine. Healthy play and outdoor time, calm, relaxed behavior at downtimes during the day. For example, because your child and their body know it's time to sleep, they are more easily able to wind down and rest. So one of the first routines that we put in place is the bedtime routine, because often the body engine and body clock keeps running still at night and they don't quite know when it's time. But when you put that bedtime routine in place, you will see that they know, the body starts to understand and know that it's time to start winding down. Routines also bond the family together. When a child knows what to expect and notices regular family activities, they begin to understand what's important. This strengthens shared values, beliefs, and interests. So for example, the child might notice that eating breakfast together on a Saturday morning is important. You know, we used to go to Green Market on a Sunday morning. We would go to Green Market and that was our thing. But bedtime, when my boys were younger, bedtime was very important. So bedtime meant us coming together and we would start with, well, they'd have their bath, and then, but the most important thing was the bedtime story, where we may animate out the bedtime story, and you know, so it was a fun family. When I say fun, but it was family bonding time, bedtime routine, and that remained through to their early teens. It establishes expectations. So rather than having a power struggle about picking up toys, for instance, at the end of the day, or taking a bath, the child becomes accustomed to knowing when it is time to pick up the toys, when it's time for the activity to end, when it's time for bath time. So there's no struggle, there's no screaming, there's no fight. And certainly for moms, and for parents, that's really important. Children begin to expect and complete activities without issue. As a parent, you become a partner in the routine rather than an enforcer, right? It creates a calmer household because the child and other family members know what to expect. Stress and anxiety are reduced. The child knows what comes next. That is extremely important for a neurodivergent, for any child, but for a neurodivergent child, it's extremely important to know what comes next, because there is no anxiety created. Remember that our children, neurodivergent children, they need to be prepared for whatever activity. So having a routine, a visual routine where they can see what's coming next helps prepare them. They become prepared in knowing what's next, and their anxiety levels are reduced. But you know something? What's even more important about routines? It gives your child independence, and that's something. That is something that is so empowering for your child. You almost see them straighten up immediately. Yeah. So, for instance, you have on your routine that it's time to, part of the bedtime routine, that it's time to brush teeth, and you see your child with the toothbrush. You didn't have to say anything, you know. Or I remember for years Rowan having his morning routine up on the wall, and then one morning when I had actually overslept and I came outside. And not only was Rowan already showered, had already brushed his, he'd already showered and he was in his underwear. He was actually ironing his school uniform, and he was ironing the correct school uniform because it was a dress uniform day. So you creating a routine gives them that independence and empowers them. So they become even more confident. Yeah. It establishes healthy, constructive habits. Remember, the routines aren't for now. Routines are for life. You know, these are life skills that you develop, and in fact, it's a healthy life skill. You know, because any disruption in the future, they're able to manage. They're able to cope and deal with. So, you know, it also creates creates and establishes healthy habits. It helps you, the parent, remember the important things. For the younger parents, trust me. My mom has a running joke. She no longer says senior moments. She just says moments. So trust me, you will forget a lot of things, especially when the day becomes busy, you know, or you have a lot on your plate. So the routines help you too, you know, helps you to remember certain things, like a school meeting, for instance. It's not that unheard of to forget, you know. It offers your child an opportunity to get excited about what's coming, because, say for instance, it's their favorite activity. They see their favorite activity on the routine. They get excited, but it also gets them invested even more, even further. And Adrian in the background. So they know they know what's coming, for instance, on a Friday afternoon or on a Saturday morning, or that family time, you know. It provides opportunity for special daily rituals. When you build something into your day, like snuggling and reading to your child before bed, you instill special moments or daily rituals. These dedicated times create increased bonding and connection with your child every day, rather than just moving from one activity to the next. You have quality, relaxing time built in each day. And it offers stability during times of change. Remember, we spoke about this at the beginning with regard to COVID. I said the COVID, it wasn't the COVID, it was COVID, but same thing. We had, our family has had a lot of change, a lot of change. We moved from about a month after Rowan was assessed with having as being neurodivergent. We moved to India, and then we moved from India to Libya. And in the 11 months after being in Libya, civil war broke out, and we moved back to Trinidad. Then we moved to England, and then back to Trinidad again. And all those times are times of instability and uncertainty. But one thing that remains constant is the routine. And so it helps the child to remain, to be not be anxious, but to remain focused and stress-free. It's a really important tool, not just for the child's well-being, overall well-being, but for psychological well-being, mental well-being as well, and certainly for yours. So that is routines in a nutshell. Okay, how important it is for every single child, not just a child who is on the autism spectrum, but with regard to our kids, there are a number of things that creating a routine does. It reduces stress and power struggles. We talked about this. It improves cooperation and motivation. It creates, and this is the most important part for me, It creates that environment of security and comfort. That is what routines do. When your child sees their routine, you will see the difference. You will see how calm they become. Now, in the beginning, it's going to be a challenge because they're not accustomed to following a routine. Now, remember, if your child is at school following a routine and they come home and there's no routine, you will see the change in behavior. Just give me one second. So for me, that is one of the most important parts. And if you see if you offer your child a visual routine. Now, when I say visual routine, I'm not talking about words, and I'll explain why. Okay, if you give your child a visual routine, every time there's a moment of uncertainty, every time there is a moment of anxiety, your child will actually reach for their routine, because the routine is what is creating the comfort and the security. Okay, so you will see it is one of the tools in their toolbox that they reach for when they, and you can teach them that this is one of the tools that will help to calm you, because you can see it brings calm, especially if it's visual. And we'll talk about when I say visual, we'll talk about what I mean when I say visual. Creating a routine prompts a genuine sense of ownership over their day. They are the ones in control. Not you, mommy, not daddy, not teacher. They, just like every other child in school, for instance, inherently knows what's next. The child who has a visual schedule, their own visual schedule, is now possesses control over their day. Now, yes, there may be changes and challenges, and we talk about that, but it helps them to have that ownership. Okay, so they're not flying blind. It builds stronger child and caregiver connections, because again, you communicate and connect with regard to the routine. Yeah. And it helps with learning, because you see, you don't have to fight through that initial wave of anxiety when there is a change, when there's a new activity. You don't have to fight. So they're calmer. They are ready, they're prepared to learn. So why is routine important for autism? Routines are extremely beneficial because they tend to be predictable and reliable, making children who are on the autism spectrum feel more safe and secure. Because children with ASD tend to do well with repetition, it's no surprise then that they learn best with routines in place. Yeah? Okay, so I'll take some questions first, if anybody has any questions, and then we can move on to starting up with the routine.
Hi, Debbie. Morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning here. Now Elijah has, well, he has a routine. He knows, okay, when it's time for bed, brush your teeth, put on pajamas. But if I am not there to initiate it, he would just go to bed just like that. Okay. I think he's dependent on me to, okay, let's brush your teeth, you're ready to sleep, brush your teeth, let's go to bed. But he knows, okay, it's to brush your teeth, put on your pajamas, go to bed. How do I get him to just initiate it on his own? Because most times he waits for me to do it. And I'm trying to teach him to put on his own clothes, brush his teeth. He brushes teeth when I start him, he will brush and stuff like that. he can put on his clothes. I know that because sometimes when I am not around, mommy will tell me he came out of the shower and she saw him with clothes on. So he's changing for himself. But I think he's dependent on me. How do I get him away from that dependency and to be independent, that, okay, when I am not around, whether I am around or not around, he can do these things on his own, because I know he can. But I don't know, it's just mommy spoiled boy. I don't know. So how can I get him there?
First of all, how is his routine? Is it in words or is it in pictures?
Well, words. And I think he got accustomed to it. I tried using text and stuff, and he just did not gravitate towards it. So when he see me doing it constantly, he gets into it and he knows, okay,
right. So he needs visual.
Yes, he
right.
needs
yes,
visual.
so he needs visual. Okay,
yes.
So we need to change his. We need to fix his routine. That's the first thing.
Right.
Where is the routine?
Sorry.
Where is it?
Where is it? Like, is it on a board or something? No, I don't have it up. I don't.
All right. So those are two things that we need to do. We need to make sure that the routine is visual, and I'll explain why, and I'll get Rowan to come and talk to you why, because this is something that I learned. Observing Rowan, and the routine needs to be in a place that they can see. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share my screen. I have a tiny little presentation. Let me see if I find it. So I did this. Presentation for the TTME, right? And the importance of let me just go down to routines. The importance of right. Oh goodness. Just loading up Rowan's laptop. It's taking a little while. Okay, so in the meantime, right. So this is what I was talking about with regard to routines and the link between routines and autism, right? But this is an example of a morning routine, just an example. You would know which way your child will be able to follow, because it must be in order. That's one thing. The first thing is that it must be visual, and as fully visual as you think your child needs it to be. Okay. What I do is I put words together with the visuals, so that in the future they may not need the visual as much. So, for instance, Rowan doesn't actually even use a visual anymore, but when he needs to, he will. And it's important to understand that that's not regression, because we tend to talk about regression. But I'll tell you something. An autistic, their language is pictures. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way they see, that's the way they appreciate, that's the way they understand. The reason why I said I think that Adrian might be also neurodivergent is because Adrian's language is not just kinesthetic, but visual in a different way. So Adrian can memorize an entire video or an entire table of contents, just like that. But each one of us is different, way different. So some of us, when we are stressed, I cannot, for instance, when I'm studying for exams and that kind of thing, I realized a long time ago that words don't help me. I need visuals to back up. So I'm always doodling, I'm always drawing. I started realizing that Rowan used to doodle a lot, but visuals are the key to unlocking the brain of an autistic. Think of it this way. If you are studying, think of a language that you've never studied, okay? And you see it on paper. The first thing you do is you look at whatever is on the paper and you go and translate it. And then you put it in your brain in a language that you understand it. And then when you have to use that language again, you think of what you have to say in that language, in your language, which is English, and then you translate it again. And that's how you do it until you become fluent. So the language that autistics speak is visuals. Is that correct, Rowan? He's far away listening. But is that correct? Did I explain it correctly?
Yes, you did.
So
one thing you need to, one thing that needs to be, you need to remember when designing, well, anything for autistics is that nothing must be vague. It needs to be clear and concise.
yes, that is what he said there is one of the most important rules. It must be clear and it must be concise. So that's why we start. That's another reason for using visuals, because visuals explain easily. Okay, so look at this visual. My morning routine. I wake up. So you see, he's yawning. I eat breakfast. I shower. And in the routine, in the picture, in the visual, he's also seeing what he does. So if I say, eat breakfast, that could be, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to, in the beginning, I would put a sandwich or a bowl of cereal. Remember, I used to do that. So it can't be vague. It must be explicit, right? You shower, so you see the suds, you see the water, dry off, because they may not realize that they have to dry off. So I also put in here a brush and comb, but remember that this is for it depends on, you need to observe your child. It isn't necessarily for an older or younger child. It's for with your child. You must know what your child will understand by the brush and comb, by brushing teeth. If not, then you do it yourself. You draw it in. So another routine I had for Rowan. Okay. So another routine I had for Rowan, let me just escape here. What I would do is I would actually do it up as a timetable. So what the timetable would have only pictures, and I'll find the visual for that. So the timetable literally was like a school timetable, morning, but it would be the morning routine, and it would have all the pictures, every single thing. So, and you know what routine is, and that's the order that you put it in. Now, if it is that there is going to be a change, you have to put in the change. If it's going to be a regular change, you have to put in the change, or you have to put in, or you have to prepare them in advance. Anything you want to add at this point?
No, not really.
Not really. Okay. So, for instance, Hermione, let's start with what the beginning of his bedtime routine is. What is the first activity of his bedtime routine?
Usually after he has his dinner, well, he's on his tablet sometimes, so he'll play on his tablet, and then he will come and tell me, brush your teeth. I said, okay, because like that's the time, if he feels sleepy, he will come and say, brush your teeth. So we'll go brush your teeth. Then he'll say pajamas and put on his pajamas, and he'll just go right ahead and sleep. If it is before he starts feeling sleepy, I just take him and brush his teeth, put on his pajamas. He'll be up until he's ready to fall asleep. But usually when he starts feeling the sleep coming on, he would tell me, brush your teeth, pajamas, and he'll go to bed. He usually would fall asleep fine on his own. But to say that it's something that, okay, it's every night at a particular time, it depends on how tired he is, or sometimes it may happen at 7, sometimes it may happen at 8, 9 o'clock. I think it depends
so
on
you have to instill the time.
Okay.
You are the person in control of the time. My artist here is going to be drawing for me.
Okay.
So can you draw for dinner? Don't draw the time. So you set the time. So first, what you will do is you head it up bedtime routine. I think dinner should be part of the routine, because it gets him ready. He knows that when after he eats dinner, he's starting to wind down. Okay.
And there are sometimes he does not eat dinner as well, eh?
Okay, that's fine, but you can instill it as part of the routine.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So put the time at the top. So the time would be maybe about 7 o'clock. Yeah. But the clock would be 7. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is with regard to the tablet, do you have a night mode?
No, I if it does, I probably don't put it in. No.
Right. So it's important if a child is on an electronic device at night, it is important for it to have a night mode, or for you to put the night mode in. Blue light hampers melatonin production.
Okay.
And melatonin is necessary for sleep. If you take one melatonin tablet, you as a neurotypical individual, you take on melatonin tablets, you'll see how fast you'll knock out. Right?
Yeah, I do absolutely. So because I have problems sleeping, so I try.
Yeah, so that's important. No, it's fine to have the device, because we used to do we actually used to do some bedtime stories on the device. And some of those bedtime stories are so fantastic because they are interactive. Like you can touch it's actual book on device, and look up for those, because those are really good. You get the bedtime story on as a book, and it will actually turn the pages, and you can interact with the book, with the characters or illustrations in the book. You might actually see them come to life or whatever. So it gets them even more invested in the bedtime story.
Okay.
So Rowan is working on. So all right. So the first thing is dinner, and the second thing is
after dinner. I think it's dependent on his mood and how tired he is. Sometimes after dinner he'll want to brush teeth, go to bed. Brush teeth, put on his pajamas. So after dinner, brush your teeth, pajamas.
Brush teeth. So after dinner is brush teeth, and then put on pajamas, and then bedtime, and that's it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, we said the tablet.
Right? When he's tired, he will put down the tablet.
Right, but we can skip that if he's tired. So we put that in, because if we don't put it in, then if it is that he picks it up, he's going to be lost. He's not going to understand what comes next.
Okay.
Right? So we put in whatever.
So we can do after dinner, put down tablet, brush teeth, pajama. We could do it like that.
But when you say put down or
well, yeah, he will, yeah. And he usually would put it to charge. Put his tablet to charge at night.
Oh, the tablet face.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, so the tablet is first.
So he'll put his tablet to charge.
So he will watch the tablet for about 10 minutes after dinner.
Yeah, possibly,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so tablet and then tablet and then tea. Yeah, Rowan is actually drawing for me. And
Okay,
this is all. These are things that I used to do. So he's now doing it for me.
Okay, okay.
Now the other thing that you can do,
Uh-huh.
besides the routine, the other thing that you can do is that you can do a social story, for instance.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
So the social story would actually put in all the steps of the bedtime routine, so that he also understands what he needs to do. Okay, so I'll show you what the social story. I'll show you what the social story is. Right, so this is an example of a social story that I did for a friend whose son was after school closed with COVID. He was really struggling and having a really rough time. So a social story basically just explains what's happening, okay, and what to expect, so that they don't feel out of it or overwhelmed or anxious. So similarly, if you find that when you implement the visual timetable routine, bedtime routine, you find that he might be struggling, you can implement, you can show it with regard to a social story. So explain it to him with regard to a social story, and he will also be able to appreciate and understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so whilst we are building up Hermione's, did I pronounce your name correct?
Yes, yes, you did. Thank you. Yes.
Whilst we're building up her Rowan's working on it, and it's actually looking fantastic already. Any questions from Vivi or Nelsia? Or Janice? Kellyanne's here as well. Any other questions?
Not really. I'm listening in, Miss Debra, because I'm transitioning Jonathan into a new school. So I did have the morning routines, and I drawed it like you did from the first meeting that we had.
Right.
So it's kind of just to get him back into it.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm listening on.
Good. Hermione, how much time does dinner take?
It depends on he eats slow, sometimes he eats slow. So dinner probably might take maybe 15, 20 minutes.
So 7 o'clock. So dinner starts at 7, 20 minutes. So let's put something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rose.
I think it's dependent on what he eats.
Right. But
Yeah.
Rowan is actually drawing it, and the way I used to draw it in the past, but also the way that he understands what he needs.
Okay.
Understand?
Right.
I think that's really important. Because it's one thing for as I said to someone, I said, we can advocate for a child, but we can't advocate like our child. Yeah. Right? So he understands what your son will need. And so he's doing it that way. So after tablet time comes brushing teeth, and tablet time is 10 minutes. And then comes brushing teeth. Okay. Any Kellyanne, any input?
Oops. Good morning. Going good so far. I like your design of the social story, because normally I would do a social story from YouTube rather than make my own, because the drawing aspect is not me. But going good so far.
I will I could share in the group because I used to do a lot of social stories for Rowan to explain everything basically. And he started creating his own. And it was a couple of years ago when I did that social story. I saw how much he just kept reading that social story. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that you still needed social stories, but they do, because it is going to be on any unfamiliar situation.
Right.
You can use a social story. So so I what I did was I wrote it as a poem instead, because he was now 17 years old. He doesn't need a social story like that. You understand? And that social story actually was really, really helpful in preparation for exams. So I think Isolda Aligent also commended me on the social stories, and she even said that she would utilize some of the social stories that if I did some to suit certain situations, she would also utilize. So she said the ones on YouTube aren't necessarily the way that we need it, kind of the Caribbean base, or that kind of content.
I got some when the pandemic had just started and to wear masks and stuff like that. I got some on Pinterest.
Pinterest, yes. Pinterest has
I got because I did some like for mask wearing and going out and no school and stuff like that. I did a couple of storyboards for him.
Right.
To get him accustomed to wearing masks and stuff like that. And it helped. And now he does. Now every time he goes out, mask, we need a new mask. And I said,
exactly.
So now he knows that when we're going anywhere, we need a mask.
That's right. And you no longer have that stress of fighting to put a mask on him.
No, and he's learned to put it on himself. So he will. So sometimes when we go to the grocery and I'm parking and I'm getting my mask together, he already has his on.
His on, exactly.
And he's ready.
You see how empowered they become?
Yeah.
And that is so life-changing for a child. That's so life-changing, because that's what they want. They want to be their own little people. Right.
And if he sees the mask dirty, new mask. And every minute he'll tell me, need a new mask. I said, yes, we'll get a new mask. I have new mask in the bag. He keeps reminding me.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Right. So brushing teeth, mine takes about 5 minutes?
Yeah. But if so long, 3 to 5 minutes, yeah.
Right, so we put it as 5 minutes, and then comes pajamas. Just put you can put a body, either put the pajamas pants on and buttoning up, or you can put the body and the pajama top coming down over the arms.
Yeah, I tried to get him
pajamas there.
You could do that and then put that and then next to it put the arrow. Remember how I would show you? Right.
I try to get him those with the elastic waist and stuff like that.
Right. So let's
not so good with the buttons and so, but I know he needs to use buttons and so.
Yes. What you can do is you can create your own fine motor activity like that. So there was a book, there was a series of books called Kumon, and they actually had cards, lace up cards and that kind of thing. That's something that I will talk about, what fine motor activity that you can get them invested in, because coloring is difficult, especially when it's a full empty coloring page. But you can create your own stuff. You can create, just have a strip of cloth with a button on one end and a buttonhole on the other end, and get him to just practice putting it on and opening it. And you could do a few of those. You could punch holes in a card and put a lacing in it and get him to just thread the lacing. You could do things like that. So because it shows these days, it listens is neither here nor there, but the issue is this pincer grasp. You want him to develop that. So doing that, lacing up the cards, that's also a nice activity.
Okay. I also got him this Melissa and Doug
Yeah.
board with
Yes.
the
Melissa and
dating and
Doug.
stuff like that.
Also good
Yeah.
resource.
Yes, Melissa and Doug. Yeah, Rowan says yes, Melissa. Yes, Kellyanne, tearing paper. Exactly.
Yeah.
Melissa
got
and
him
Doug.
this
Rowan
one.
talked about Melissa and Doug because
Yeah.
yes, we have this. We have
Yes.
Rowan, that brought back
Yeah.
some memories.
I was gonna say they have one on doing laces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brought
So
back
I'm
some
trying to
memories.
get him into that right now. To get him into using it, especially for the buttons, because
Yes.
his school shirt, because he goes to Palmeiras.
Yeah.
So his school shirts have buttons.
Yeah.
Most times I get his pants ready made, but those that are not ready made, those I have it custom made. And just excuse me. Hold a minute, Mom. And what I don't have custom made, I have to get ready made, and the ready made has zipper and buttons.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm trying to get him to be able to button and zip
Right.
and stuff
Right.
on his
Buttoning
own.
is buttoning is still a challenge. I mean,
It is because I'm
it's a
teaching him
challenge.
every day.
So yeah. So do the easier ones, like as Kellyanne said, tear paper and all those things first, because those
Okay.
come before the buttons. Develop
Right.
those skills first.
Right. Also, I think he needs to get some more OT done because he hasn't done OT since the pandemic closed off. So it's like 2 years.
But
he
you
has
can do
not
your
been
own
doing
OT, and
Yeah.
Kellyanne is going to help us. So some of the OT things, picking up peas and red beans and that kind of thing. That's OT, because that's
Okay.
pincer crisp, right?
Yeah.
Dot to dot. Get dot to dot books, or you can create your own dot to dots.
Okay.
Before all of this, before coloring, I think. As Kellyanne said, tearing paper, you can actually give them to tear paper along a line. Those Kumon books, I tell you, because you actually had to tear paper or cut to unfold to create a scene. It was blow mind fantastic, and I'll try and see if I could find any of them. But scissor skills, so getting him to cut along a line, and folding paper, getting him to fold to create a plane or whatever. I'll try, and Kellyanne and I will work together, and Kellyanne, we should create a book, and we'll come up with some stuff, right? Dot to dot, I think, is fantastic. Really, really helpful. But this is Kellyanne's area. I'm talking from a parent perspective.
Right.
So I will definitely reach out to Kellyanne with regard to, because OT is, you can do so much with regard to OT in the home. You know, flour. I created you saw, though, that recipe is all over the internet, and you get them to knead. Rowan hated it because he didn't. But what I did was I put it in. Actually, no, it wasn't that he didn't like. He didn't like paint, finger painting, and
Although I really don't like when the dough gets stuck to my hand.
Yes. So if the dough make the dough too sticky, because they don't like that either. But if it does get too sticky, you can just put it in a piece of plastic, in a Ziploc bag, and let them knead with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And the last thing is bed. So it takes how long to put on pajamas?
A minute, 2 minutes, I don't know.
5 minutes. Right. So at 7:30, 7:40.
55.
Right. So 7:40 bedtime.
I can adjust the time as it goes along. Like if I can check to see, okay, how long it takes to put on pajama, I can adjust the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Rowan's going to put me out of a job, because his illustrations have become synonymous with simplicity, but simplicity, but they tell every simplicity, but detail. They tell every single aspect of the story, and it's in their simplicities are absolutely blow mind fantastic. And you'll see when we put it up. So in the interim, any further questions? I'm going to search for I'm going to search for some more, because there was another presentation that I had. So any more questions in the interim? Nobody? Brittany and Bibi, no questions? No comments?
I'm following Miss Debra.
And now we are just talking about bedtime routine. I'll show you. I'll show you. One of the things that I learned early on with regard to routines as well. It's a book series. It's Korean. Is it Korean? Kumon. I used to get them from Mohammed's. There's still a few of them, but not like the ones that we used to have, but they were totally fantastic. I tell you, every single thing that I needed with regard to, and there's a technique with regard to getting them to color that I used as well. Oh gosh, Kumon was great. So, right, so I want to show you Rowan's, I want to show you this routine that he had when he was in form, I think form 4. Was this form 4? Was this later on? This was this early on. I can't try to remember now. This is a presentation that I have to share with you guys. I did this presentation for the Caribbean Association of Caribbean Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools. It was a really important presentation because actually a few of the principals didn't think that Rowan's story was possible, and so it was important, and I'm hoping that a lot more are going to be invested and open towards having children who are neurodivergent. So this is Rowan's morning routine from, this is when he was in form 4. And when he was in even before form 1, the bedtime routine was not like this. The morning routine was not like this at all. It was in a particular order, right? But here you see, I've put rise and shine. I put the alarm clock, and it says 5 a.m. All right. Breakfast and shower next, and I put dry off, brush teeth, and I put what he puts on, vest, box. His socks, shoes, his lanyard, that's his ID, really important because he would forget that from time to time. His bag, and I put the open lunch kit because I've encouraged Rowan and his brother to help me pack their lunch. Okay, and 6 a.m. time to go. Okay, Rowan is actually finished. Homoin, Rowan is finished with your
hi.
Rowan is actually finished with the timetable. Rowan, you're putting me out of our work.
Okay, I'm getting him some juices.
Sure.
Yes, all is done.
New juice.
New juice, yes. Can you put it in the dustbin for a moment and recycle? In the recycle bin, thank you. Put some water in it for you.
So in the interim, can you guys see this? If you can't, can you guys see this?
I'm seeing some of it, yes.
Okay, we'll go down, but I just wanted, Rowan, you explain. You sit next.
So here for simplicity's sake, I have marked the numbers on the clock that represent the time.
Okay.
And not really all the numbers. So you'll see a 7 and a 12 up here. So you know it's 7 o'clock.
Right.
So 7 o'clock is dinner.
Right.
20 past 7 is
Tablet time.
tablet time.
Right.
7:30 is brush teeth.
Right.
35 past 7 is pajamas.
Right.
And sleep is 22.
20 to 8. Okay. But I can adjust the time as I
Yes, you
as I
can.
go along.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you have it like this, and you
Mhm.
can write in, you can actually write in brush teeth. You can write in all the things that you need to write in.
Right.
But see, what you do is that all you have to do is show him the clock.
Okay.
So you show him the time, and you show
Right.
him, and then you show him the bedtime routine. And that's all you need to do. You start in the beginning, you will be doing you will go through everything with him, but every single time you start, as soon as he starts to follow, you then start showing him the time and showing him
Right.
the routine. And eventually he's going to start seeing the time, and he will know what he needs to do.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see how visual it is? And I allowed Rowan to do it because Rowan is doing it the way he understands.
Right.
He understands that he needs to have it visually.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The words will come after.
All right.
But that's like trying to get him to read something that he doesn't understand.
Okay.
And this same thing goes for if you're trying to give him instructions, for instance. So you have already given him something in a language that he doesn't quite understand, and then you're telling him what to do. Remember that autism is a verbal language processing disorder. So you've already given him information in a language that he doesn't understand, and then you're trying to explain it in a way that he does not appreciate either.
Right.
He doesn't get. So we know, for instance, persons who are ADHD, who are also neurodivergent, when there's too much information being sent, too much information around, they need to zone out. And one of the first things they zone out is auditory information. So then they may not even hear you. They may not even hear you. So if he's trying to make his body wind down, and you have given him information in a language that he doesn't understand. So he's trying to process that. And then you are saying to him, whilst he's trying to process this, you are trying to speak to him, and he already doesn't understand or process. He processes slowly. So for instance, if we were to look at our kids' psychological evaluations, when Rowan was 7 years old, and he had his first psycho-ed evaluation, there are two parts of processing. One, he processed at a 7-year-old's level. One, he processed at not 2 parts. There are a couple of parts of processing. One was at a 5-year-old's level, and one was at a 2-year-old's level. But you see, I'm not seeing a 2-year-old child in front of me. So I'm trying to give him information, and he is not understanding me. And I am saying, but do so and so and so, and he's getting more stressed because I am thinking that he's understanding, but he isn't. Because that is not the way his brain works. It's not that it's something wrong with him. That is just not the way his brain is wired. So I need to present the information in a different way.
Right.
So this is what I keep saying about with regard to anybody. If I'm dealing with a legally blind person, I won't give them print to read. I can't. I give them Braille. So why is it that I'm giving him something that he doesn't understand? Right. He doesn't process. So when people hear about persons who are neurodivergent and they say they're making a mountain out of a molehill, you're not so whatever, or they don't quite comprehend, because persons with more visible disabilities are given disabilities on the whole is a bad word for a lot of people, but they're given a bit more of support. But the neurodivergent aren't, because people see them and think that they function just like us. And for the first time they mention the word tantrum, I'm ready to walk. Because it's not a tantrum. Right. You're giving me information. I am appreciating information. You're giving me information that I cannot understand. And it's making me stressed. And I'm already stressed because I'm bombarded by so much. Yeah? Yeah. It's a fascinating world. It's a fascinating world, but it is, I said this to a friend, and this is why I've been talking to my younger son, because he's been doing something that has been blowing my mind. Like I said, he literally can look at a video or look at a table, and he can give you back the information like that. But it's the onus is on us who are neurotypical, who consider ourselves normal, to inculcate them into society. But you see, part of the issue is that if we do that, we realize that we might be the ones who are not normal. Or we realize that they are the ones who are way ahead, light years ahead. All right, so the aim with the routines is routines do a couple of things. One, well, we talked about all the things that routines can do, but the main things is the security, the empowerment, and you see that connection between caregiver and child. It is so how do I put this? When you are struggling and you think that you and your child not seeing eye to eye, you're not meeting, and then all of a sudden you have that connection, because you are also seeing where the routine is bringing him so much, because the visual is he's able to appreciate and understand. My goodness, this is me, this is my language. I'm finally speaking my language. That is life-changing. Right? So I'm going to take a picture of this and I'm going to send it to you, and you can customize it however you want. You can put it in blocks or whatever. Right. One of the things so there are three routines that three schedules or routines that you need to have: the morning routine, the after school routine, and the bedtime routine. The after school routine is also extremely important, but you factor in everything: downtime, take off school clothes, nap, Lego, building Lego.
It's tablet time.
By the way, building Lego is amazing. OT. Plus, you develop imagination. Remember, it's imaginative play. And when in the future, when you need to teach how to write essays, you can actually use the Lego to help build the story, right? Because remember, again, it's visual, and that's why essay writing is difficult. Essay writing is a challenge for them, because essay writing is trying to take words from here, but they are trying to take what is up here and put it into words. And it's like remember the processing speed I talked about? So it's like trying to take have a funnel with a wide mouth and a very, very tiny spout. And the way to widen that spout is through visuals, right? So important to have that after school routine, because the after school routine helps do a couple of things. It helps to get the body engine to come down a little bit from the high of school, but it also maintains the routines that are in school so that the teachers don't see the challenge when they come to school in that they have had no routine at all. So they're all over the place. But you yourself, because the teachers have had routines all day, you don't see them all over the place because you have routines in place. One of the things that important things I learned about that after school routine, besides factoring in a nap per se, or playtime, is choice. Now, I had a huge criticism when someone said not, but it wasn't me. Someone leveled that criticism at me when it was suggested that routines would be of support. And they said, but if you have routines all the time, how is he going to know, when he has to make a choice that's not on the routine, how is he going to, he's going to be at a loss? Nope. So what you do is you factor in, you the parent, you factor in a slot where there is a choice, one to start, okay? And you put the choice. So you observe what he does, what he likes to do, and you put the choice in. So the choice could be playing with Lego or playing with clay, or being on the tablet, or playing outside. So you factor in the choice, and they choose, okay? And then as time goes on, you can factor in 3 choices. And then as time goes on, you just put optional, a period where the child chooses whatever activity, but you don't have to put in the options, and you will see the growth. Okay, so routines are not about making your child rigid. Your child's mind is that way already. They like that kind of structure. Routines are about you providing the security and the comfort. Okay, any questions? No questions?
I'm good. I'm just kind of, excited to
assimilate all the information.
Yes.
All right, guys. So any further questions you can, I've recorded, I've actually streamed it to YouTube. I didn't record this one, I streamed it live to YouTube. So it's on it will be on my channel. If you have any questions, you can certainly put it in the chat, and I will share Rowan's sample bedtime routine in the chat as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Ms. Debs. This was a very informative session. And yes, you had to remind me that, yes, even though I see a big child, I have to remember that he's not at the age that I'm seeing him at, because take it from me, at times it really gets frustrated, you're trying to explain something to him and he just goes into a tantrum. So I'm really
that he's not understanding. Yeah,
yes,
it's just that he's not understanding you. Yeah, he's not understanding you. He's just not understanding. And there will be times when he, especially when he's anxious, that is not going to work. That is not going to work at all. So you just have to take your time. And if you you see instructions, give them bit by bit, break it down. Because as I said, verbal information doesn't get processed the way that we process it.
Yeah, because I realize now, like if I try to get him to do something to help him, because remember, I have the baby as well. So, sometimes I will have to he's good with colors, so, you know, and I had to describe what it looks like, bring this
Right.
color. So, you know.
Right. Exactly. So be as Rowan said it best. Don't be vague. Don't be vague. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
Thanks.
So
Yes,
yesterday we had our little mishap because whenever Rowan is in the vehicle by himself, he will lock the doors because he needs to feel safe. Okay. Whenever he's coming out the van, he will lock the door. Now, yesterday we saw one of his old teachers when he was 2. And she was actually a helper at the school, but she was the only person who felt that Rowan belonged to that school. Who, you know, everybody was like, I'm in denial. So anyway, he came out of the van. I was already going into the mall, so I locked my side door because he was staying in the van, and he came out of the van and he locked the door. So there are things that they do automatically, and I can't get upset with him for that. He was mad with himself, but I can't get upset with him for that because this is what he does. They follow their pattern, their routine. You know, so you can't get upset. This is what has kept him, you know, and that's what he does. So I am the one who threw the monkey wrench into the works, and so he did. He came out of the vehicle, but he did what he's accustomed to doing. All right. So I apologized to him, and that helped him to calm down. And he still felt a little bad, but you know, that's normal. But once we understand the way they appreciate information, the way they accept information, once we understand that, it will be a huge difference. We are looking at them through our eyes, but we need to look at them through their eyes. Yeah. And see their limitless possibilities and the way that they learn. And wow, it will be so vastly different.
You know, Deb, I have similar thing with Elijah when we are in the car. Now, when I start the car, the doors automatically lock.
Lock, right?
Right. So if one door is open when I start the car, it doesn't lock. But when I reach into the car and I close the door, he will say, unlock it, which he means lock the door. He says, unlock it. I said, oh, okay. And he always does that. If the door is open and I'm driving, he will say, unlock it. And one day I'm driving and I was upset with something that happened. And he said, unlock it. I said, oh God, Elijah, stop harassing me for that now. And I kind of yelled at him for it. And my mom was like, but you know, he's keeping you safe. You shouldn't think. But I was annoyed that day. I was frustrated that day. And you know, him just saying unlock it, and he keep repeating it, unlock it, unlock it. Yeah. And I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, oh God, I will lock it now. So, you know, I yelled at him, but I realized that's his way. Because whenever we sit in the car, he will say seatbelt, he would say unlock it, you know. So he's like, okay, this is what we're supposed to do when we get into the car. And this is what we do to be safe. So
but you know that being unlocked is also creating a little bit of anxiety for him.
Yeah.
So that's why he would keep saying it until you
So I realized that. So when I get into the car, so now even if I'm frustrated with anything outside of him, and you know, I get into the car and he says unlock it, I'll say, oh yes, thank you, baby, and I will lock the door. You know, I think I'd have to teach him what is unlock from lock, but I think he's comfortable saying unlock it to know that, okay, it's to lock the doors.
It's a lock.
So, you know, those sort of things. And Elijah is 12. He's going to be 13. So what I want to know, these things like the routine and things, is it too late for him to get into it? Or
no, not at all.
We still instill those things
in him? Of course. Yeah? No, it's not too late at all.
Right.
It's never too late.
Okay. Because I know they
remember that every single school that he'll go to, he will do a routine, you know. He'll have a routine anyway. And we are all the same. I remember when I did a talk for the teachers in Lady Hochoi Home, and they said but it's too late to teach her because she's 35. And I said, how old are all of you here? And they said, anybody here is over 30, and they all looked at each other like, yeah. And I said, and yet here you are. Why is her brain any different? It's different in the way that she receives information, but she's human. So it's not too late. I don't want.
Yeah, I think that
It's never
comes
too late.
from, they keep saying early intervention.
Early intervention
They
because
are blah blah blah, and I think
yeah,
most
but
parents
you
probably
see,
think with that thinking, okay, when they get older,
yeah, no,
they're not
early
gonna pick up
intervention in
stuff.
terms of speech, right? But in the beginning, it was always felt. Remember that one of the things that was used with regard to and still used with regard to autism is applied behavioral analysis, which I do believe in, which I don't, I apologize. I had a conversation with Rowan where I apologized for utilizing applied behavior analysis. And that's because I didn't know any better. But autism is just neurodivergence, as the word suggests. It's just a variant of normal, a variant of typical, because I don't know what is normal. I know I am not normal, and I'm glad that I am not. But it's just a variant of typical. So the more we understand the way that they learn and appreciate information and grow, the better we are able to support them, and the more we learn about ourselves as well. So this thing about it being too late for them to learn, nah. And the other thing is stimming. So you may notice when they start the routine, they may stim, or they may have a bit of anxiety, which you would appreciate as a meltdown, or bordering on a meltdown. It will settle. It will settle because the routine in itself helps to get rid of the anxiety. But it's a new thing that is being instilled. So you will notice, you'll have a bit of a challenge, and you will notice the anxiety. And the anxiety might be with stimming, whatever stimming activity they do, but just bear with it. You will see it all. You will see it all dissipate. And stimming, don't ever stop them from stimming unless it's dangerous, and you can actually get them to stim in a different way. You could teach them a more and this is up Kellyanne's alley, but stimming is, as I say, self-stimulatory behaviors to help decrease the anxiety, but it's for us also to appreciate when they are anxious. So I don't ever stop Rowan from stimming, because it teaches me that something's not right, not quite right for him. And I just go up and I say, is everything okay, love? And then he will tell me, okay, this is happening, this is what I feel, or whatever, So we have a lot to learn from the neurodivergent, But the most important thing that we learn is that they aren't meant to fit into our world. They aren't meant to fit in. They are meant to still live. Just still live. Okay? That's it for me. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for being here.
Deb. Thanks for your
Very
help.
much appreciated.
Yeah.
All right?
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.